Hey guys, it's me, Karen Ashley. You know me as Aisha, the Yellow Power Ranger, and you are watching Anime Secrets. But hey, join me next year at Rangerstop Pop, June 13th through the 15th in Atlanta, Georgia. It is our final year, so come and have a fun time with us. It is like a family reunion of Power Ranger fans, Power Rangers, and we're just gonna have the best time ever. It's morphin' time.
Anime Declassified is a podcast run by the Anime Secrets website. Check us out at animesecrets.org for more anime, video game, tokusatsu content. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts today.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Anime Declassified podcast. We have our cosplay spotlight. I'm your host, J-effin-K, and I do want to say this is a special episode where we are really highlighting our Power Rangers, and I want to remind everyone that Rangerstop Pop in Atlanta, Georgia is in a few weeks. It's June 13th through the 15th. So if you're in the Atlanta area, make sure to stop by. Also, I want to say shout out to to Anime Secrets for having this podcast, Blurredography, and Carnell Hawley Pictures for hosting the Day Zero Trivia Night that is going to be from 8 to 10 p.m. at the con at Rangerstop and Pop. So I do want to highlight our cosplayer for this episode. We have JS Cosplay. Hi JS, how are you doing today?
How are you?
I'm doing good. Go ahead and how did you get involved in cosplay? What's kind of like your backstory?
I'm older now, so back in 2013, I cosplayed for the first time at Rangerstop number 2 in Orlando. Before that, I've done, of course, Halloween stuff, and I kind of had a Link from Legend of Zelda, kind of rough, I guess, costume. I wouldn't even call it cosplay. Before that, and I wanted to go to Rangerstop, and I wanted to do something different, so I ended up having this jacket from the Sentai season. And I threw together a mask from actually Spirit Halloween of a werewolf for one of the characters who's a werewolf for a couple episodes in Jungle Fury. So I kind of threw that together, and I was like, I wonder if people will know who I am, who I'm portraying, and it was a hit. People loved it. So after that, I was like, okay, full steam ahead. I'm going with this.
So you've been cosplaying for 12 years now. Yeah. That's awesome. What would you say are some of your favorite cosplays that you've done?
Definitely Mesogog from Power Rangers Down to Thunder. He's probably my favorite villain of the entire franchise. He's very cerebral, very methodical, psychological. So I enjoy really playing him. I enjoy doing characters that other people don't do. I like to kind of, everyone wants to be, Green Ranger or White Ranger. That's great, but a long time ago, going to cons, I would run into 3 or 4 Green Rangers. And again, that's great. That's cool. But I wanted to be something different. And I was just like, well, if you got a Green Ranger, if you got this Ranger, you need a villain. And
yeah.
So I like really doing Mesogog. I just got him redone last year and re-debuted him. And it was a big hit. Even the cast members who were at Rangerstop told me I looked better than what was on the show. So that's a big honor to me and my costumer, who is awesome. Currently, I'm getting Commander Kruger from Power Rangers SPD done. He's one of my other favorites. And that might be the one that's coming up in a few weeks that I re-debut.
Yep.
I also do Link from Legend of Zelda. I'm a big Zelda fan. Link is really the first thing I've ever really done, so he's close to my heart.
Yeah.
I've done Quailman from Doug. I've done a Gingerbit Riddler from Batman. I'm pretty much open to anything. But my favorites have been pretty much Power Rangers for one reason or another. I just really connect with them.
That's really cool. I love hearing that. A lot of my cosplays are more on the anime side. I do video games and other pop culture, but I also love cosplaying characters that are kind of more niche, that nobody, you don't see them too often. I feel like it just makes them more special.
Yes.
And it feels really good when someone recognizes you and then like they're also excited because it's their favorite character and you've done that. And they get so excited to finally see their character represented. So I think it's really special that you do characters that are a little bit more niche.
Yeah, I mean, I really found my spot. Like I said, I don't want to be like everybody else. So I was like, well, Commander Kruger is kind of a hard one to do. And, I went with, that was the second one I've ever did. I did the Geki Wolf for Rangerstop, the first Rangerstop I went to, Rangerstop 2, and then the second I went to, Rangerstop 3, I pulled out Commander Kruger. So I made a big leap from something kind of simple to something that cost me $1,300.
Yeah.
So after that, definitely after that, it was definitely on. And from there, I just had a blast, it's cool seeing everyone's faces light up. It's cool to see everyone's expressions, being Kruger, being Mesogog, it brings so much, joy to me. Cosplay has really been there for me the past 12 years in more ways than people imagine.
Yeah. Leading into that, I was going to ask, you've been cosplaying 12 years and something I'm a newer cosplayer. I cosplayed after COVID, but something I've heard from other cosplayers is, the cosplay scene has really changed from pre-COVID to COVID. Like the pandemic had a huge effect on cosplay. So what has kept you cosplaying through the years and what keeps you cosplaying now?
When I first started out, it was just something fun and, it was just this be cool if people, like it. I'm not very, outgoing, personally, unless you're really close to me in that real inner circle. So like cosplaying has given me a way to kind of express myself. I'm not creative in the sense of actually creating a cosplay, a really good one, but I'm creative in knowing a character, portraying it. So if I can have someone make me something awesome, I could be that person. I like studying mannerisms and how they talk and how they sound and how they move and so that helps me express myself in that way. And that's what kind of drove me to keep going with it. I've had a few people along the way who cosplayers. I got down at some time about halfway through, probably about before COVID, a couple of years before COVID. I was kind of going through some personal stuff, and I've had two people who I looked up to in the cosplay community really talk to me, and they assured me, hey, keep going. I'm an older person. I was older then. I was in my, almost 30s when I started, and now I'm in my almost mid-40s. So, you're going against a bunch of people who are in their early 20s, and I'd say if you're older, keep going, do it. I know I'm part of a cosplay group that's for 50 or older people. It just drives me to see people, like I said, I was really low at one point, and cosplay was really the only thing that kept me going, to be honest. I made like a summer of cosplay a few years ago. This was before COVID. I went to, within probably 3 months, I hit 10 con. I went from Miami up to Raleigh, North Carolina, and everywhere in between. And that's all I wanted to do. And, it kind of brought me out. Like I said, I was having a really tough time at that point. Cosplay really just, gave me something to work towards, some motivation and, seeing everyone's reaction and support in that really helped me. And so that's the reason I kind of keep doing it now. Everyone asks me like, well, do you ever make money at it? And I'll say, I'll never make money at it. I don't do it for the money. I'm not going to be, anyone else who does like prints and gets tables, more power to you. That's not something I want to do, necessarily. If someone wants me to do a print with them, that's great. I'll collaborate with somebody. But I'll never make money at this, and that's not why I do it. I always tell people this is a money pit. I work overtime. I do this. I do consignments. I do all kinds of things just to be able to do this. It's been a really, really blast of a time. I have a really close group of people that really support me in this, and I just couldn't do it without them. And a lot of times I do it for them. You know, I like to talk to guests at con, you know, ask them like, hey, your character, you know, someone cosplayed your character yet? And, you know, they're like, no one's done that yet. And my goal is to get people that I really connect with as a guest that don't have their character done. I would like to do their character for them, you know, because they would love to see it. So, I mean, there's different things that motivate me. You know, you got to find the things that, you know, keep you going, keep you intrigued. And so, you know, it's one thing to do something and someone walk by me and say, hey, that's awesome. It's another thing someone to stop dead in their tracks and just with their mouth dropped open and going, whoa, I never thought to see you before. You know, that's a totally different feeling. So, I mean, that's the world to me. I mean, like I said, I'm very quiet and very to myself kind of person in real life. I just kind of work and put money towards this and, you know, I express myself this way.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome to hear. I really connect with your story a lot in the sense that, like, I very much am a believer that cosplay is for everyone. Like, cosplay doesn't have an age. I've just entered my 30s and I kind of felt that a little bit, but I'm like, it never stops. That's kind of what's great about this community is it's a place for everyone to find their niche. And I know you mentioned, like, you know, you're not a maker, but you are, like, you research your character, you learn their mannerisms, how they act. And I feel like both sides, like, I'm a craftsman cosplayer, so I'm a maker, but there's both sides of cosplay and they're both completely valid. You know, making cosplays and then being able to bring that character to life is a whole nother set of talent and skills. So having that is a great skill set to have. And it makes the cosplay, you know, come to life even more if you can enact the character and learn them. So that's an amazing skill set to have. And so I love getting to hear that. And I feel like both sides cosplay is kind of a money pit. If you love cosplay, I agree with you. It's not for the money, it's for the joy of it. So I love getting to hear that. That's kind of where your love of cosplay comes.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, you know, people, when I tell them, they ask me, well, how much, you know, have you spent on this? How much you spent on that? And I'm like, well, I mean, it's a lot, but in the end, to me, it's not a lot. I mean, it's a lot of work and a lot of money, and they're like, you know, you're never going to see that back. I'm like, no. Like, I mean, but I go for the experience. I mean, I put the money in for the experience, not to get money back out.
Yeah.
You know, I like to see other people happy. I like to see other people, like, have that character they never thought they'd see in person. You know, I mean, another one I like to do is Marty from Back to the Future. I mean, Back to the Future I hold really close to me. It's my probably favorite movie all time. And, you know, I'll go to Universal to City Walk every so often and, you know, I'll dress up as Marty and people are just like floored, you know. I mean, and that's not something I have to put a lot of money into. It's basically getting a jacket and buying some shirts. You know,
yeah.
I mean, there's things that you can do that are not expensive that can be a big hit, but it's how you portray yourself, you know, and how much effort you're willing to put into who you want to portray yourself to be. You know, I mean, you like I said, I started out throwing stuff together. You know, when I did that, I never thought I'd be spending this much money on cosplay on average. But it's my hobby. It's what I enjoy doing. You know, it brings other people joy. It brings me joy. I just enjoy, you know, walking around and seeing, you know, people just, like I said, being floored. You know, there's times where I'm about getting a table, and so I can just not have to walk around the floor. You know, that does get kind of tiring at times, but you know, part of me is like, well, that's part of it for me is walking the floor. You know, much as I would like to get like a mannequin and put a cosplay or two up and have a table and sit there, I mean, that doesn't seem like me. In the end, I would get up and walk around. Having a table is kind of pointless.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 'cause I like being in the people. I like walking up, especially like at Mesogog. I love stalking kind of behind people to a degree because that's who he is. You know, he has that slow, methodical kind of, he's right there behind you. I mean, he's basically a horror villain for Power Rangers. And, you kind of got to portray that a little bit. So, that's the fun part. I can't do that at a table. I can't get that kind of expression out of somebody and them be like, okay, that's really awesome. That's how I would feel if I was in the show. So, on the flip side of that, Commander Kruger, he's a big blue dog. I mean, when you walk into a room and you get a big blue dog head on your shoulders, people tend to notice, and, I don't want to be stuck at a table. Much as I sit there and go, well, yeah, that'd be great, but at the same time, it's so much better to walk around people and them not know that you're there. Like, you're not trying to scare them or anything. You're just walking the floor and they're just not aware of your presence. They turn around and see you and they're like, oh my God. I mean, that's the feeling like no other. I learned really early to be mindful of other people and what makes them kind of tick. I'm very good at reading people. So, when I get these characters and I do them, I kind of hone in on that group of people and like, okay, what's going to, for like Rangerstop, the Power Ranger community, what's going to be like what they like? What's things that they haven't seen before? Again, no, not knocking anybody. I could be, and eventually at some point I do want to do like a Green Ranger or a White Ranger. I love JDF. He's my favorite Ranger. In real life, JDF was awesome to me, especially as Mesogog. Once he knew me as Mesogog, he loved me to death, even more afterwards. I mean, everyone has a JDF story. I mean, I have mine. I've never really publicly shared it, but I mean, I have my JDF story. And, it's nice to be appreciated by people who get you. And, I'm sorry, I just got caught up thinking about JDF and
You're fine. You're fine.
just having that memory.
Mm-hmm.
But like, with the Rangerstop community, it's like, do you want to do certain things that everybody else does, but there's time for me to do that. I mean, doing some of those things are very simple. It's just buying a suit. I mean, at the most simplest, I could get a suit from somebody if I really wanted to do that at some point and not put a lot of effort into it, just some cash. And I want to do certain characters before, honestly, other people do. I want to beat them to the punch. I mean, I think for a little while now, I know some other people do Mesogog. The masks that I have for Mesogog, I think there's only 3 in existence. Another guy who actually tipped me off to the mask maker originally, he goes to Power Morphicon, and he cosplays as Mesogog. But he's the one that originally gave me the idea, and I built on it. And then I think Chris Candina on Facebook, he has a mask because I've seen him with it. But I think there's only 3, and then the mask maker stopped. So like, I'm in this little crew, and I know someone else recently did a Mesogog. They sent me pictures of theirs, and they're going to go to Orlando, and I hope they have a blast. It'd be weird having 2 Mesogogs there. But I mean, more power to people. I mean, I'm glad other people like this character. I'm glad people are cosplaying. I will say to anybody, if you go to somewhere and you see someone who is doing the same character you are, don't get discouraged if you look different or you feel they look better. I mean, just because someone put more effort and time into it doesn't necessarily mean that that's a knock on you. I mean,
Yeah.
Enjoy what you do. I mean, everyone's got to start somewhere. You may be halfway through doing cosplay and it's like, hey, I thought I'd be better than this, and that may happen. I mean, I felt like that at times. That's where you got to have people pick you up and say, hey, man, nah, you're doing pretty good. Keep doing what you're doing. And and I kind of referenced two people, but I would like to go ahead and give them a shout out. That'd be Jim Kelly. If you're in the Power Ranger community, you know who that is. He cosplays a lot of Sentai and Kamen Rider cosplays. Jim is way younger than me, a lot wiser. So I do want to shout out to him. He's been there for me really at a time when I needed him. So, if you ever see this, thank you. The other one I want to give a kind of a shout out to in that respect will be Daryl Williams. We met at Rangerstop. he's kind of the liaison for Power Morphicon, has been in the past. He would cosplay as like Red Ranger from every season. He too was there to kind of give me some words of encouragement. So I would say to anybody cosplaying, if you feel like, hey, this isn't for you or this ain't working out, get some feedback, talk to people, get you a support system to a degree, people that will be in your corner to show you, hey, no, no matter what you look like, if you're having fun, do it.
I think that's an amazing message. And it's so true. Like cosplay, I think a lot of people, especially now, hold a lot of weight in like looking like perfect in their cosplays, having these high tier cosplays. But at the end of the day, cosplay started out at cons, like with a bunch of people coming together who felt like outcasts.
Yep.
And just doing it for fun. There's a love behind it. And yes, it's turned into this amazing craft. But at the end of the day, we're all here just to have fun. It's just for the joy. I think people kind of get caught up in that and forget that this is just for the fun of it. And whether you have a screen accurate cosplay or, something that is more loosely based or something, you put your effort into it and it doesn't matter how it looks like as long as you're having fun and you're proud of what you have, what's important.
Yeah. I mean, I think my first Rangerstop I went to, I saw a cosplayer doing like an out of the box kind of Billy MMPR, and there was really not a lot to it, but it was it stuck with me. There's cosplays that I see that are just like, I really like out of the box unique things, like take a character and put a unique spin on it. That's what kind of attracts me is like, okay, like I said, everybody can do, a basic kind of character, but what makes you stand out? You got to find the thing that makes you be different, as much as you can and still feel like you're giving, your all to that character and honoring that character, but also make it your own. I mean, like I said, the first year I did Mesogog at Rangerstop years ago when I had like basically my version 1 that was the only cosplay that I actually ever made. I had the mask made, but everything else I did. I crafted it out. I mean, it wasn't the best, but because I'm not great at that, but I made it. And I was very proud of that I made something. And that first year I wore it, William, he's better known as like Opera Ranger. He followed me around and sang the Dino Thunder theme song for me. There was another guy who could do Mesogog's voice to a T, and followed me around and did the voice as I walked around the floor. I mean, you come across just awesome people, in cosplay stuff, people that you never thought you would ever talk to. A character can inspire somebody. A villain can be like, hey, I shared that love for that villain. I get where you're at. I understand. So, I mean, I have a blast every time I cosplay. It's very taxing on the body, believe me. I don't think a lot of people really realize how much you go through.
Yep.
Especially, I mean, every cosplay is different, but, I'm sitting here wearing a big leather to a degree jacket, depending on who it is. Big rubber. I mean, I'm sweating to death. If I'm doing Kruger, I mean, within 10 minutes, I got to take that mask off. I mean, I'm about to die in it. Luckily, one of the things I'm doing is putting an AC unit in it right now. So, but I mean, I think cosplay as a whole, it has done a lot for me, personally, professionally. It's opened doors for me professionally. Nothing that's going to be massive for me, but things that open the doors for me to do things I like to do. It's made me make connections with certain people that, kind of look out for me and throw me a bone every once in a while. And, I reference, my JDF story. I guess I debated if I was going to share it, not share it. And a few people know this story, but I mean, I'll go ahead and say it publicly. I know, make this like a JDF thing, but I've really never said this publicly to anybody. So after I did Mesogog and he saw me, like he knew me a little bit before then, and every time he saw me, he'd be like, "Hey John, how are you?" You know, like I was amazed that the dude I looked at knew who I was and remembered me. So he saw me as Mesogog the first time and about died. He promoted me to the moon and back on his Instagram, doing videos, doing pictures, you know, which was great. I mean, it really blew my mind. And then like afterward, you know, he got my phone number, and basically every 3 or 4 months, he would reach out and be like, "Hey, I got about 15 minutes, you know, do you want a phone call and catch up?" And, you know, and we would talk about cosplay. You know, he'd ask what's going on with me in life, and, you know, and in about the last couple of minutes, he would always say a prayer for me. He'd ask to pray for me. I'm not very a religious person, so to speak, but I mean, that meant something to me that someone took time out of them that I looked up to as a kid, and every few months would give me 10 or 15 minutes of their busy time and was interested in my cosplays. So would ask me about them and would encourage me to do more. So I know everyone has their stories with him, but that's kind of mine. I know a lot of people just met him in person at a con. You know, he was a really big driving factor in me doing more. You know, he really kind of supported me, and he was like, "Hey man, if you ever need anything, call me." So, you know, I never called that number, but it was nothing but just, you know, I didn't know what to do knowing I had this number on my phone. You know, I never wanted to use it and be like, "Man, I just want to call," but it was just nice knowing I had this number. So, but that's what cosplay got. You know, that's probably, aside from making people happy and smile on a real personal level, that's probably the biggest thing that I ever got out of cosplay, is having that connection with him. You know, I mean, before that, I was just, you know, a fan. But once he realized that, oh, you're going to play a character that, you know, you're cosplaying a character that was in my return season, he kind of latched on to me to a little bit. And, you know, so that's probably the biggest thing that I've ever gained out of cosplay directly on a personal level. So, I mean, you just never know what's going to happen. You don't ever know, you know, where that person's going to, you know, that likes your cosplay. They could be a con owner, they could be a creator, they could be an influencer, they could be whoever. You just never know. So, you know, it's opened some doors. Like I said, I'm not really one to try to get in the spotlight. This is actually my first ever interview. So
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for, you know, for inviting me. You know, I'm not really one to want to speak and stuff. I kind of let my cosplay speak for me. So, you know, so this is something different for me, you know.
Yeah.
So I just want people to understand that even at my age, I'm learning something new. I'm experiencing new things in cosplay. And 12 years in, at 42 years old, you know, I'm, you know, learning things new about myself and new about cosplay. And, you know, I would like to say, I gave a shout out to the 2 other people I like to shout out, to my awesome craftsman, my costumer. I hooked up with him last year on a very short notice on Mesogog, and he knocked it out of the park for me. And we have become close friends. And I like to tell Tommy Fighter, thank you very much. If anyone, just look him up on Instagram. You can go to my page and find him on there. He's one of my friends. You can't find him any other way. He takes all kinds of commissions all through the year. He does anime. He really is enjoying the Power Rangers. He really had never done Power Rangers before me. So he's enjoying the challenge of that. He's making things for me that I didn't expect anyone could make. He just hit me up yesterday with something that I asked him to do, and within an hour he got it out. You know, and I was amazed. You know, he used to work for the theme park in their costume department. So, and he teaches art and costuming. So I'm really lucky to come across him. It was just happenstance that he helped me out, and I lucked up with him. So I will say anybody who really needs something, even if it's advice, he'll give you advice. You know, please look up Tommy. He is awesome. I can't thank him enough. He's an awesome person. You know, my cosplay journey, I don't know. You know, I tell myself, you know, I'll give myself 5 more years of really going at it and then kind of taper out, you know, maybe kind of do those last few that are easy kind of do for me and just do them. I always kind of figured, like I said, the green or white ranger was my final thing, you know, and this was even before JDF passing. I mean, that was kind of always my game plan to let that always be kind of the final thing. So,
Yeah.
you know,
That sounds really, well, and where can our viewers find you? What are your tags so they can find you at?
I have JS Cosplay here on Instagram. It should be JS, I believe, underscore cosplay. Don't quote me on that. I'll have to put it in the chat or something. I really haven't posted much on it in the past year or so. I just really recently updated it the past week. Like I said, I'm a private person. You know, I just kind of, I don't do it for the notoriety or you know, necessarily, oh, you know, I'm trying to get followers. I just like doing what I like to do.
Yeah.
So that's probably the best place. I have JS Cosplay on Facebook, but it's kind of the same situation. I haven't really updated it. But it has probably a little bit more of my other cosplays. Like I said, I've done a Jenner Bent Riddler one time on a dare, and I enjoyed that. People really enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing something different. And I've done Quailman from Doug. You know, that's something very easy and fun to do. You know, I have various, you know, things that are kind of that struck me as a kid I like doing. So that's basically it. Instagram and Facebook. You know, anybody wants to go in there and just, you know, see everything I've done. I take all kinds of pictures when I go to cons with everybody. I try to find meetups with whoever I'm cosplaying with and try to post those. Also enjoy going to cosplay wrestling. So if y'all are into that, there are a lot of that's on there. Like a lot of people who wrestle now in like AEW and WWE, I've met them through cosplay wrestling before they made it big. You know, I have several pictures of different people that I've met on there that you see on TV every week now. And I still kind of keep in contact with 2 or 3 of them, you know, which is kind of cool. You know, I mean, that's, well, I mean, getting in on the ground floor and meeting somebody, you never know who they're going to become. And, you know, again, it's one of those situations where you never want to call in a favor. It's just nice knowing I have that contact. You know, if I want to send a message to someone, then they know who I am, you know.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's kind of, like I said, the personal stuff I got out of cosplay professionally. I mean, I made friends. You know, Tommy is an awesome friend. Jim, you know, Daryl, you know, the Rangerstop family. Mikey, he has been there for me from the beginning. You know, I used to work. I would volunteer to do security for Rangerstop years ago, and I was trying to balance that and cosplay at the same time because if you ever work like the inner workings of a con, any con, you know, unfortunately, people don't show up. I mean, that's a sad reality. When people for volunteers, you know, people will say they'll volunteer, and unfortunately, they don't make it for whatever reason, and you're short. So the time that you were going to have for yourself kind of gets swallowed up being there for the con, and you know that's okay at times. And one time that was going to happen, and I ended up cosplaying while working security. I cosplayed as Mesogog while also doing security for the con. So, you know, you have an interesting little situations that pop up like that. You know, you got to take advantage when you can take advantage of it. You know, if, you know, Mikey's cool, well, yeah, you can cosplay. That'd be great. If you put Mesogog in a, you know, in a security vest and let him walk around. I mean, it's stuff like that, just that's the niche thing that's peculiar. That's, hey, that's weird. That's the kind of stuff that I'm into. That kind of piques people's interest. You know, if you do the same old, then it's always going to be the same old. So, you know, I have to tell Mikey thank you. You know, he's given me a big platform with Rangerstop. You know, he has been there for me at other cons, help me out at other cons one way or another. So he's made me be able to go to certain cons a lot easier. So I know this is going to be the last Rangerstop Rangerstop and Pop in Atlanta, and I know Orlando's up in the air, and I don't know which way it's going to go after November for that. But if this is the end for both this year, this is my family. I have a close group of friends that I've met at Rangerstop. We have our own little group, and I'm the only cosplayer in the group. Other people work with the con in different ways, but I'm the only one that's kind of not working for the con, and I'm the cosplayer. So, in a sense, they look out for me and make me look good whenever they can. So, I mean, it's just who you got to make connections. And cosplay has done that, friendship-wise and professionally in that sense. So, I wouldn't be where I am without that. It's kind of awesome. Like I said, it makes me feel like $1 million.
Yeah. Well, sorry. We have a special video we want to play, so I think we're gonna play that video that's of you.
Hey, yeah. So this is Rizwan. I just wanted to say, as a small little story, as I queue up this video, John, you probably already know what this video is going to be, but when I was at Rangerstop Pop last year, I was filming a bunch of panels because that's the way we get our content for Anime Secrets. And one moment happened on stage during the Dino Thunder panel where you walked on the stage and you had a little family reunion with the actor who played Trent, who is Mesogog's son. And I've just always found his clips so fun for me to just go back and look at. And I figured, given we're spotlighting such an incredible cosplayer, somebody who's meant a lot to the Rangerstop Pop family, why not show this video one more time and just give it the notoriety it deserves? Because look, John, you are an amazing cosplayer, and I've been wanting to do this for a year. We just hadn't gotten around to scheduling it until you won our trivia night. So you know what? Here we go. And Kennedy, you can see some fun stuff here now.
Okay.
This being the White Ranger, which was very unique and cool, but you had sort of like an evil father storyline going on there, didn't you, with Mesogog?
Yes.
Now, I don't want to alarm you, but we've got somebody who wants to reunite with you. Okay? Can we bring him out here? Can we bring your dad out here? Come here. Give it
That's
up.
pretty cool.
That's awesome. Let's give it up for you. Great.
Oh, man. Oh, look at the wow. Oh, my goodness.
Now, doesn't that look so cool?
One of the greatest villains in the history of the franchise, played by the amazing Latham Gaines, and he got to be your character's father.
So, this video, it kind of demonstrates some of the stuff that we've been talking about throughout the last, almost 40 minutes now. Part of what I love about John's cosplay is not only he had this really awesome, better than screen accurate cosplay, but the mannerisms he portrayed of Mesogog. I mean, that's a hard thing to pull off. And he stayed in that cosplay the entire 40-minute panel, and he was just as menacing all throughout. He never broke character. He just stood there, kind of glaring out at the audience, glaring at the cast, kind of making small little quips here and there. And that, to me, is just a good mark of a great cosplayer, somebody who can stay in character and have a lot of fun. So I just want to call it out there because, look, that's part of my motivation, that I wanted you to come be our cosplay spotlight prior to RSP coming up.
Oh, thank you.
That was amazing.
It was an awesome moment. I'll tell you how that came about. At my small circle of friends, Steve, who's hosting that panel, one of the hosts of that panel, is in my small circle of friends. And he loves my cosplays. And he was like, hey, I'm doing this Dino Thunder. He's like, before I brought it, only him and, like that said, the 4 other guys in that small circle knew what I was doing. And so he's like, hey, I'm doing Dino Thunder. He's like, do you want to come out as Mesogog? He's like, I can just make it happen. I'm in charge of the panel. I can just say, we got this surprise. And I was all for it because, You know, I tried this before, not on at a panel, but years ago at Rangerstop. Um, Unfortunately, with SPD, maybe this will get rectified later on this year. um, but we tried this years ago when I was Kruger at Rangerstop 3 with the SPD cold cast there, and they kind of didn't want anything to do with me, which is weird. Um, uh, Kind of blew my mind. But the con tried to get us all together, and it just never happened. Um, so for that was like kind of a full circle moment for me, you know, for that to be able to happen. Um, you know, I talked to Jeff after that and Kevin, and they were just blown away. They sat there and I went to their table and they stared at me and touched it, felt it, and they were just in amazement. While up there on stage, I literally cried in that mask. I was crying up on that stage. Because just that moment, you know, having that acceptance and like, okay, you know, like I said, I did this version the first time with the not as awesome as a jacket as Tommy and made me there with the one I did. And I felt good in that, but I felt like I felt like $1 million in the first one, I felt like $1 billion in the second one. So, I mean, it was very emotional for me up there. You know, I mean, I was like trying not to just sob up there on stage because just hearing the crowd and looking at people looking back at me with their jaws dropped open. And, you know, after that panel was over, before I even got on the floor, people were coming up to me saying, I heard there was a Mesogog here. I heard there was a Mesogog. And that's where I made the debut for the day. Like I was back there in that side room. I put it on, went back there before that panel and put it on. And so like to hear people running up to me before I even make it back to the floor, that word got out. I mean, that was awesome. I mean, that was probably, you know, professionally on that kind of level, the highlight of cosplaying for me was that moment. I'm glad that you caught it. Like when I saw that video, I was like, oh my God, thank you that someone got this. You know,
We get everything.
I would like to say, I thank you to somebody else. They were with me that day. I'm going to use their initials, BH. They have been there for me. They are my photographer at times. They are my support. They are, you know, financial support at times with this. They are emotional, mental, everything that you can imagine. They have been on this journey with me, and for the past several years. And I couldn't do it without them. Um, I want to tell them they know how much I appreciate them, but you can never say it enough. And I want to publicly say that I very much appreciate them. You got to have. I know it's a lot of cosplayers are on their own. I mean, but sometimes you just got to have a support system. And you know, a lot of times I don't feel like I'm in shape. You know, I feel like, okay, can I pull this off? How am I going to look in this? Is this going to look proportionate? Is this going to, you know, is people going to be like, well, okay, I get the character, but you don't really look like the character. You know, you're not in the character shape. You don't, you know, I have all those kind of self-doubt thoughts. You know, it takes someone to reassure you. You know, I don't go to the gym. I don't work out. You know, sometimes my job is my gym. So that helps a little bit. But like that moment last year was probably, aside from the JDF stuff, it's right up there. You know, it's a culmination of hard work and making connections and love and tears and all the emotions. And, you know, I'm hoping this year, you know, even though I kind of said it earlier, you know, I haven't really shown or really said what I'm until that point what I'm planning on doing for Atlanta. But you know, hopefully they'll go over really well. I mean, I wanted to do it a couple of years ago for John when he was in Orlando and it didn't work out. Didn't get to go. And he was supposed to come last year and it didn't work out. So it seems like this is, you know, if this is going to be the last, I mean, year for Rangerstop as a whole. I mean, we know it is for Atlanta and I don't know for Orlando. this is the last time that I might possibly get to see him outside of like a PMC, which I've never been to. That's a goal of mine, is to go to PMC and cosplay these characters. I mean, I've kind of stayed regional to Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina. You know, I like to go out other places and give these characters some more exposure. You know, that takes money and that takes, you know, time away from work. Past couple of years I really haven't had the ability to do that, but that's starting to change now. So hopefully next PMC I can take some of these things over there and blow people's minds like I do here. You know, that's why I do it. You know, it's just, I don't care for the personal admiration. I mean, I appreciate the thank yous and all that, and believe me, very much it means a lot. But more to me is just seeing the expression on people's face. That's the money right there for me.
Yeah. Well, your story's been amazing, and thank you so much for joining us, John. I hope people start looking. I'm getting new into the Power Ranger side of cosplay. I have several friends who are involved, and I've gone to several of the different conventions, and seeing your cosplays has been amazing. They look incredible, and I can't thank you enough for joining us for our cosplayer spotlight.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for this awesome opportunity.
Of course, of course. Well, thank you for joining, and everyone, make sure to check out JS Cosplay on Instagram and Facebook, and join us for our next one.